Well, hello again. Today I'm going to flare one end at least of this brake line, this 3/16 brake line. Wish me luck on that. You know, but if I fail, I mean, I'll just keep chopping it back till there's nothing left till I get a flare. I'll have a 3-inch piece left, you know, and that's not going to be long enough. Anyway, what I have to do, there's one thing I still have left to do. This brake line right here. Let me zoom in. This brake line runs to the rear of the car. I've got a socket over the top of it. Oh, there's Bonnie. Hello, Bonnie. How's the baby? She says, I'm coming in here to get me a pet. Let me show you who Bonnie is. Everybody's yelling about Bonnie. Hello, sweetheart. You want your pet, don't you? Oh, she says, give me my pet. I love my pet. Oh, she says, oh, I come over and get that nice back scratch. Oh, she said, that's good stuff. He's a sweetheart. Okay, go ahead. Come on, let's go home. Your mom's calling you. I hear her. She's out there yelling for Bonnie. Good girl. She's happy now. No, she's not happy. She wants more back scratch. Come on now. That's all. Time to go home. Sorry about the interruption, but you know, you got to take care of the ladies. All right, where was I? Oh yeah, this I've got this socket covering this end of the brake line that runs all the way to the rear of the car, and I have yet to blow out. I've still got to put the clamp that holds it next to the gas line to the body of the car. No problem with there. I got it, but I need to blow this line out all the way to the rear before I hook up a line here and start to bleed them out. It's still got that old nasty brake fluid in it. So that's what I'll be doing next. But the problem is, it's not a problem. I have it disconnected at the rear of the car, just above the rear axle. It comes from the rear axle, goes through a flexible hose, a rubber hose, up to a bracket, and it's disconnected right there. And I left that disconnected so I could blow it out. So let's go back and take a look. So this whole operation means that I've got to crawl back underneath the car and hook a hose to a jug, and I have the hose in the jug underneath already. It's a just my little old vinegar jug, and the bad hose was left over from my power washer. I just cut a big old chunk out of it, and I'm going to run it up on top of that axle in the rear. I'm going to run that hose over the top of the line, run the other end into the bucket, into the container. It doesn't even have to be standing up. I could have it in the same position it's in. Then I'm going to go to the other end and blow it out with my air hose. And in order to do that, I put up 2 more jack stands because I'm going in from this side. And I use the big jack to hold up the axle over there. So I've got 3 more places to be secure. And I'll feel safer going underneath the car in order to do that. You know, the tire could blow while I'm under. You never know what could happen. We could have an earthquake. Now, another word about safety. I've got 2 more places, like I said, on jack stands. That if that thing were to drop, it's on there right now. They're tight. They're not going anywhere. Okay? And don't ever feel safe under these cars. You know, I have to do these sort of things because I want to feel safer, not safe. You will never be safe under these cars. The day you think you're safe by crawling underneath that car while you're under there, it's time for you to get out of the old car repair business. Well, there she is. I've got the one end of the hose hooked into the skinny little line. I pushed the fitting back, about 1.5 inches. Slid the hose over the top of the skinny little line coming from in front of the car, right up there by the bracket where the flexible hose connects. And I got it into there. Now I'm going to put some very gentle air pressure in the line on the other end. That's about all the air pressure I plan to blow down through there. I didn't open up that red handle all the way. Just enough to get a little air in there, and this thing is easy to control too. I'm just going to put a little bit in. Alright, it's blowing all the way out. Here the air in that plastic bottle back there. Well, that's what we got out of it. It's pretty clear actually, but there is some dirt in it. That dirt may have been there, I don't know, but there's still a little dirt on the end of the line in the back, but at least it's out of there now. What I'd like to do is put this booster bracket assembly, is what they call it. It's just a mounting bracket, but this, in the book it's called the bracket assembly. I need to be putting that on there on the firewall, but I can't do that with the stitches still in my hand because I'm going to have to reach up under the dash and there's wires and all kinds of crap under there. I don't want to be catching those stitches, so it'll be a few days. But I went ahead and cleaned it all. There wasn't any rust behind it at all. I just gave it a good scouring and good cleaning with alcohol and wire brushed it real good to make sure there's no dirt on it, and then sprayed it with some flat black combination primer and paint. So we're letting it dry right now. When time comes, we'll be able to go ahead and put the bracket assembly on. Kieran and Kurt are a father and son team out in Colorado. Now Kieran is the son, Kurt is the father. And Kieran has no idea that Kurt, his dad, contacted me about the Thunderbird. Here's what he writes. The Thunderbird belongs to my oldest son, 18-year-old Kieran. It's his first car. He insisted on having a classic car despite my fatherly advice to get something newer and reliable. My first car was a 1947 Chevy Bel Air two-door coupe that I bought from a guy in Wyoming. It was sitting in the middle of a field for years, but started up with a jump and I drove it home. From that point on, it was in the garage 90% of the time, and I had to work on it constantly. I kept telling my son that getting a classic that needs work means he will need to spend a lot of time on it. He said he wanted something we could spend time working on together. Well, how does a father argue with that? So we went on the hunt. He had a short list of cars he was looking for, and when we saw a posting for a 1965 Thunderbird, we went to take a look. It was complete and in overall great shape. The guy we bought it from was a mechanic and had bought it from a family of the owner that had passed. He said it had been sitting in a semi-trailer for 20 years. He had replaced many of the fuel components, including the tank. But since it was sitting for so long, it needed more work. My son was so excited, so was I, so we purchased it. We're now going through everything, just like you. He wants to refurbish it, which I think is best, since the condition is good and he doesn't have a lot of money. We're working on the cooling system, replacing the water pump, thermostat, and all the hoses. We're very thankful for your videos. They've put the work needed in perspective. And they're great tutorials of what to expect and how to handle each issue. Keep up the great work and videos. We faithfully watch them and appreciate all of your knowledge. Best regards, Kurt. Back in part 64, we removed this little item from in between the master cylinder and the booster. And I showed a little bit about it. It was pretty funky. Well, this is what it looks like now. I was able to clean it up the best I could. It's made out of metal. I thought it was a plastic, but it's not. It's metal. And you can get these. Max Thunderbird sells them. And this piece of plastic here that also goes on here like so. You can also get that on Max Thunderbird. But the price of this and that, plus shipping and tax, would be over $40. So I said, nah, I don't think so. I can use that $40 to buy something else, trust me. Anyway, this one cleaned up real good. It's got a little bit of a few rough surface areas to it and everything, but, you know, not that big a deal. And the way this thing works, it's a little filter. It's an air filter. Had a little piece of foam rubber. I don't know if you remember that. It goes on there like so. Fits down in there between these little grooves. Come on, get up in there now. this piece on the left was actually longer like this one at one time, but I may have to put some kind of a, well, this is going to take two hands, but anyway, this thing here goes down on top and sandwiches it in, so it has an air intake down here in the bottom once it's put together. Kind of a pain in the butt, but there's the air. It'll look like that when I'm done air intake. It is time to open up the wheel bearing time capsule and find out whether or not we can go ahead and take them out of there or leave them in for another week. Alright, let's see if these are clean. I ought to be able to take them out and shake it, put my fingers down the center to hold it to, and then shake it, and I ought to be able to hear the bearings rattle. Well, they're rattling a little bit. I'm probably going to have to wind up brushing some of these, I think. Let's see what this one is. Yeah, they're doing pretty good. I think what I'll do is I'll put it back down in here for another day or so, and just kind of swish it up and down and kind of help it out. And then in a day or two, when I get some time, I'll take them out individually with a paintbrush and scrub them up really good, and then spray them out with some, I have some brake parts cleaner in a spray can. We'll go ahead and spray them out really nice. Well, we got our parts in, and once again, Max Thunderbird had them here in 2 days. Bang! They were in the, I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe the truck was out there. It amazes me that they can do that. Anyway, we got our 2 3/4 inch grease seals, and let's go ahead and do a comparison to make sure we got the right size. Where is the old one? Here it is. I'm going to set that baby right on there. Yep, it's exactly the right size. Okay, we got 2 of those. So I'm happy about that. And we got our, over here is our second caliper, and this is that gas line I was telling you about. Look how squirrely and crooked and bent and all this crap I'd have to go through. I'd muff that up something fierce because it's a very large gas line to begin with, and I'd wind up ruining more and costing more money buying new gas line pipe to be bent than just go ahead and buy it outright and get it over with. I'm glad I did that. And we have our bushings for our sway bar. We got those babies in too, so I'll be putting maybe, no, I'm not going to be able to do it this. I wanted to do it this video, but it just rained and poured and crap, and I have not yet received the extension cord for the welder. It was supposed to have been in today. I got a notification it won't be until tomorrow, and I'd like to finish up this video and get that taken care of. Where is the other bearing seal? There we go. Keep this stuff together as much as possible. I already lost one part. I'm going to, not a part, it's a gasket. I don't know where the gasket is for the back of the, the master cylinder, where it fits into, where it bolts up to the brake booster. I'm going to have to make one. That's no problem. I mean, it's a piece of cake to do, but I just didn't want to have to waste my time on that. Okay, what we're going to do now, you can see that the inside of this is just a mess. And I was going to go ahead and just put a lot of grease all over this surface right here. And I'm going to have to dig out all that grease in there first. That's some nasty crap. I don't know why. That's something that always fascinated me, is why do people fill the entire thing down in there with grease? And you could say, well, it's an accumulation of over the years. No, clean that crap out of there. You can have a little bit, but my God, you don't need a gob that'll fill your hand. It's not needed. Grease your bearings, grease your race, give it a good, put a little bit of extra down in there, and it'll be fine on both sides. You don't need to fill those things up like that. I never could figure that one out. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and wire brush this with a small wire brush again, like so. And we'll go ahead and just loosen up what we can. Then we're going to plunge this stuff down in the vinegar. Get rid of all the dirt from the mud wasps. Even mud wasps on this, God. Anyway, we'll go ahead and plunge it down in there once I get all that out. And that's going to be a real gooky mess. Look at the pile of grease that came out of that wheel hub. That's about par for the course. I've seen even more than that, and that's a lot. Just be careful. You don't want to be reaching your fingers down in there, scooping that stuff out. There are, this has been cast, and there are sharp edges everywhere. So what I do is I take a little screwdriver, and I scrape it on out with a screwdriver as much as I can till I can shine a flashlight down in there. And then once I'm, I can kind of touchy feel my way down in there and make sure there's no, pointed ends, sharp, pokey stuff, anything that'll cut my finger open. You don't want to be cutting your finger open down in there. You can use a rubber glove or whatever you want. I never have. I just kind of feel my way around gently, gently, gently. You can get that last few scoops of grease out of there. This thing is so full of grease, I can't believe. Look how nasty it is too. Probably been in there since 1966. The majority of grease is out, so now comes the rags. Take an old rag, it's probably got a lot of grease on it already you've been using for something, and just kind of wipe it out. The thing I'm trying to do right now is get that bearing race. Now that bearing race is this thing right here up at the top. There's one on each end, one on the bottom and one here. Or I should say one on the inside, one on the outside. And that's what the bearing rides against. And you knock them out, they can come out. And if yours are scored or have pits, really bad pits and everything, look at the bearings. Make sure the bearings are nice and shiny and everything. And if one or the other is screwed up, and then you should go ahead and replace both the bearings and the race. Replace them as a set. Don't try to use, unless you're short on bucks, I understand all that. But don't try to use a nice new set of bearings with old races. It's been my experience, that's not good. You wind up with another set of bad bearings or a race that spins on you. After we get all the grease out with the old nasty grease rag, get rid of it right away. Don't leave it around, because you'll wind up sticking your hand in it, getting your clothes on it. It never fails. I would lean over like this or move or something and get my hand right in that bunch of crap on those towels and just get rid of it right away, and then get you a little clean or fairly clean rag and clean the race up. All right, let's see how good of a job we did. Well, she's looking a whole lot better down in there. She's a lot cleaner. And now let's take a look at the race. Let me see here. I want to get a good look at that race. Let me zoom in here so everybody can see it. Well, she seems to be okay. I don't see any flaws, any nicks, any gouges, any ridges. She looks all right. Let's see what she feels like. Nice and smooth all the way around. I like that. Nothing to it. Let's do the other side. Well, once again, she's very clean down in there. That's what you're looking for. Get rid of all that old nasty crap old grease. And wipe it out with a nice clean rag. Take your time on this. This is important stuff here. This is as important as your brakes. This thing screws up, you got problems. Remember, this is the wheel that's going round and around at 60 and 70 miles an hour. All right, let's take a look at the race on this one. Not too shabby. Looks nice and smooth. Do we have a problem here? Let me get the flashlight. This thing's a little too bright. It's reflecting too much. What do we have? Let me see. Yes, I do believe we have a problem. See that little black line right there? Let me zoom in. Let me move this around here first so we can see it better. Come on, baby, focus in here. See that black line right there? Is that a crack? If it's a crack, we're out of luck on this race. Let me get my pocket knife out and kind of, move the sharp edge back and forth across it, see if it catches. All right, let's see what happens here. Ooh, yeah, it's cracked. I can feel it all the way up. As soon as I can, oh, yeah. Oh, bummer. Now, is it cracked all the way through? Doesn't matter. If there's a crack, it's got to go. Out it goes. All right, maybe it's a good thing this came up. Maybe I can show you how to remove one of the races out of here, this one in particular. So let's flip it around the other way and I'll show you how that's done. Of course, now comes the question, can I actually show you? See that slot down in there, right where the flashlight's at? That's the edge of the, or the bottom edge of the race. There's another slot over here. See that another slot right there? That's another one right there, and there should be a third one here somewhere. Maybe not in this one, but Let me spin it around. It should be at least 3, I thought, but this one may only have 2. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. There's one right there. Well, I'm tired of looking with the flashlight. You know what I'm talking about. So what we can do is we can take the way I used to do it when I was younger and I didn't have any tools or anything, and I probably would still do it that way today because it worked pretty good. You take the screwdriver and you stick it down in that slot. Let me see if I can get the flashlight in there. Yeah, see where that slot is? You hold the screwdriver as straight as you can up like this, and then you bang on it with a hammer. That's the way we used to get them out. Just fit it down in there, right down in that slot, okay? And then you move the screwdriver. You tap, tap, tap till it moves out a little bit. You don't get it out from where you just kind of loosen it up. Then you come over here and tap the other one. And there was a third one where you tap it, and you kind of go back and forth, tap, 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 until it comes on through. Now, it's a little bit more than a tap. Those things are in there pretty hard. Now, another way to do it is, of course, use a flathead punch. And you stick that thing down in there, and you bang it from here. A little here, a little there, and then it'll eventually drop right out. So let me do that using my trusty ball peen hammer, and I'll see if I can't show you on the other side where it has worked its way out, and then we'll knock it out the rest of the way. Now here you can see the separation already beginning. See the thick metal thing there and the race itself. It's separating all the way around. It's just a slow process. You got to hit it pretty hard, you know. Just make sure you're not hitting the wrong thing. You want to make sure you're in those slots. So when you hit it with the hammer and the punch, is what I'm using right now, I'm banging on the race itself and not any part of the hub. Let me flip it back over and tap it the rest of the way out. I'll give you another look-see before I bang it all the way out. See the space now? And the race is almost all the way up to the top. But that space is what we're after. And that's what you get when you tap it out using that slot from the other side. Unfortunately, this thing only has 2 slots. So it's just back and forth until she comes out. Well, that's it. There's your bearing race. This was the part I was tapping against, or hammering against with the punch. Now I'm not going to throw this away. You don't want to be throwing these away, because when you get a new bearing race, you can use it to set on top of the race and to use it to tap the new race down in against this bottom lip all the way around, okay? You can damage this one, it doesn't matter, but this nice smooth edge on the bottom will tap that new race in there like it's nothing at all. And you don't want to be putting any grease in here. I never have anyway. I know people who have done that. It's good to tap it in dry. You don't want that bearing to be spinning on you once it's down in there. Now this fat part is the part you want to use it to tap it down in, because once you get it down in there, there'll be a skinny part up on top. The bottom here will stick out past the skinny part, and you'll be able to use it. You'll be able to use it to tap from the other side to knock this one back out, because I've had them in there where, oh my God, it won't come out, and I put it in upside down. There's no lip or edge to tap against to get it back out. Oh, I've had a heck of a time with some of those. Anyway, lesson learned, when you're young and you're dumb, you don't know anything. So anyway, that's what a bearing race looks like, folks. The bearing goes against this. I wish it hadn't been cracked, but boy, that really is upsetting. One last thing, this bearing race also has some pitting in it, so they've probably been in there since day one. You can't hardly see it, but once I got it out in the sunlight, I could see it's not heavy pitting, but it's enough that needs to be changed. Maybe I can talk wifey next month into letting me buy complete new bearings and races. That would make her happy. I love making wifey happy. I've decided to just go ahead and soak one of these at a time. Just plunge it down in there and let it set for a few days and see what happens. And if it turns out good, then we'll do the second one. I added 1 more gallon of vinegar just to make sure it's completely covered up. And now we'll just, I don't know, I guess we'll come back in about a week. One more thing, these lug nuts, they really look to be in bad shape. They've been on that car a long time. They're all boogered up, messed up. You can see the edges. I haven't looked up to find out how much a set of lug nuts costs. You can bet they're probably going to be about $50,000. But when I order the bearing race and the bearings for both wheels, I'll probably go ahead and order a set of lug nuts, maybe for all the way around. I don't know. It all depends on how much it is and how happy I make wifey. The last thing we'll do today is go ahead and get these bushings. These bushings that came in, they're separated. See, I expected the ones I took off to be like that, but for some reason they weren't. Kind of weird. Well, she looks better already, doesn't she? Brand new set of shoes. That looks a whole lot better. I'm a lot happier with that. Alright, we'll go ahead and end the video here. Between now and the next video, I will have received the welding cable and that I need. I just can't do it right now, and hopefully it'll be a little bit drier so I can go outside. It's really mucky and muddy out there. And I will have removed the rust on the car that mounts the sway bar in. I just couldn't get around to it. So until next time, this is John. One more thing before we close out. In an upcoming video, it may not be the next one, it may be the one after. It'll be a one subject video, and it'll involve our brake booster, our master cylinder, these two wrenches, this battery, and this digital caliper. And we're going to show you how to set this little baby right here, the push rod, properly, so when it fits into there, it's at the right length and it doesn't push that plunger, that primary plunger, too far or too little. So be looking forward to that. Like I said, in a couple of videos. I don't think we're going to get to it next time, but I think we can get to it the time after.